Good morning. On behalf of Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management, Bhubaneswar, we would like to start a webinar. The today's topic is COVID-19 and its impact on religious tourism in Eastern India. Today we have an eminent speaker, Dr. Dilip Kumar Das. Dr. Dilip Kumar Das is the Associate Professor and Head Department of Tourism, the University of Burdwan. Joining in Burdwan University, he had worked in many institutions, many hotel management colleges. He was in IHM Patna. He was also the Head and Associate Professor of Central University of Sikkim. Dr. Das has presented more than 40 publications in different national and international journals. He had also written 5 numbers of books with the national and international publishers. Now I would like to request to our nodal officer, sir, Dr. Sabir Hussain, sir. Sir, you please speak few words and inaugurate this session of webinar. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Vishwas. Thank you, Mrs. Sarita Pradhan. Thank you, Dr. Das, the entire webinar team, faculties of IITTM. I'm happy and privileged to welcome one of my student alumni of this institute, Dr. Dilip Kumar Das. Dr. Das, Dilip is a student of IITTM Bhubaneswar from the first batch. This is a very proud moment for me that I am able to welcome an alumni of IITTM, a student of mine from the first batch of IITTM Bhubaneswar. Dr. Dilip, I am really proud for whatever you have achieved till now in the field of academia. I'm thoroughly proud about knowing about your books, about the contributions you have made in the field of research, tourism research especially, a number of articles you have published, number of books you have written. I am thankful to you for achieving all these things and very much thankful on behalf of IITTM for agreeing to the proposition of for this webinar. In spite of your very busy schedule, now you are the head of the department. You are the associate professor in Burdwan, but you could give some time to IITTM. IITTM is very thankful to you. I hope all the students and participants joining this webinar today will be immensely benefited from your lecture today. Especially the lecture is a very focused lecture on the impact of COVID on religious tourism in Eastern India. As you know, that Eastern India is very famous for religious tourist attractions. Especially it is having a dham here in Puri, and the place you belong to, West Bengal. Maximum people come to Puri for a darshan. Now the Rath Yatra is going on. Today is a very auspicious day of Bahuda, that is Lord Jagannath is returning back to his temple again after this ritual of Rath Yatra. I thank all the entire team members for their effort for successfully organizing this webinar. Thank you. Now it is over to Dr. Vishwas.
Honorable Nodal Officer, sir, Dr. Mohammad Sabir Hussain. Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Now, with your permission, we would like to start the webinar session.
Yeah, please, sir.
Now, thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request to our eminent speaker, Dr. Dilip Kumar Das. Sir, please start your discussions and topic. So, what to you, sir?
Respected Dr. Sabir Hussain, sir, my mentor, Nodal Officer, IITTM, Dr. Somendranath Vishwas, faculty, IITTM Bhubaneswar, other faculty member of IITTM family, students, and other scholars, research scholars. Thank you very much. First of all, I'll give my special thanks to IIT team family for providing me an opportunity to speak some things on a topic which is very much pertinent, particularly to Eastern India, because which is famous for uh, religious tourism destination. So for today's topic, the discussion of topic is effects of COVID-19 and its impact on religious tourism in Eastern India. So I would like to present the slides so that I can start. The topic for discussion is COVID-19 and its impact of religious tourism in Eastern India. If we'll go for the introduction part, as we all know, tourism is one of the fastest growing industry and it's the leading foreign exchange earner in India. Not only in India, most of the developed countries, including most of the underdeveloped countries in the world, tourism is considered to be one of the fastest growing industry. And being a multidimensional industry, its economic significance is very high for the Indian economy also. Yes, for the effects of COVID-19 or this current pandemic situation is concerned, if we'll go for, this is a very unwanted situation where not only in India, but also almost more than near about 200 countries in the world, they are facing this precarious condition, this pandemic condition because of this COVID-19. So if you discuss in Indian context, so far as the effect of COVID-19 is concerned, tourism and hospitality industry is the worst affected industry among other, among all. And if we'll go for the statistics of National Restaurant Association of India, almost 15 to 20 lakhs job has been but you can say gone out, and almost there is a loss of 30,000 crore. So far as Indian context, we are discussing 30,000 crore has been lost because of the big loss of business because of these pandemic conditions. And so far as the figure is concerned, in every day, in every time, the figure is increasing, which is very alarming for our country's economy. Now, talking to our discussion for today, now the question is why religious tourism? If we'll go for the discussion, religious tourism generates the revenue in a way as no other kind of tourism does. That means out of all forms of tourism, religious tourism is considered to be the mother of all forms of tourism, and it provides a huge amount of revenue. Why it's provide a huge amount of revenue, that will be showing it in the next slide. And next is, so far as pilgrimage is concerned, it not only added to the knowledge to us, but also provide knowledge about the geography. Say, for example, you are going to a particular religious place, maybe Kedarnath or Badrinath, whatever about the geographical condition you will find over there, it may be different, whatever geographical condition you will find now in Puri, where Rath Yatra is going on. So it provides a knowledge of geography and the knowledge of what the world has to offer. Now, so far as pilgrim tourism is concerned, it is emerged as an instrument for employment generation, then alleviation of poverty, because a lot of people are involved in these religious activity. When a religious place is developed in a particular place, including the total local community, a lot of people are actively involved. So it provides a huge amount of employment generation, alleviates poverty, then it also provides sustainable human development. Then pilgrim tourism also, it's a part of religious tourism, also promotes international understanding, gives support to the local handicrafts and cultural activities also. It is an important segment of our country's economy, especially in terms of contributing towards foreign exchange earning, generation of additional income, because we earn a huge amount of additional income through these religious activities, and creation of employment opportunities, as we have already discussed. Next is, if we'll go for the perspective of religious tourism, religious tourism has basically two distinct perspectives. One is for domestic tourism, and the second one is for foreign tourism, foreign tourist or international tourist. So far as the domestic, in case of domestic tourism perspective, it is the faith, the spiritual attainment of the deity or the destination in the line in which religious belief is associated with. That means here once we are talking about the, in case of domestic tourist, it is their faith as well as belief which promotes the religious tourism of a particular destination. Like we called it as, we are having in Hindu mythology, we called it as there are almost 32,000 deities are there. So in case of foreign tourist, someone belongs to a different religion, different region, or for different country, for whom the destination or the religious practice have the dimension of nobility and a spiritual experience. Like say for example, now nobody is there in Puri in Rath Yatra, but in a normal Rath Yatra day, in an auspicious day like today, where Lord Jagannath is returning back to his original place, original home, minimum around 10 to 15 lakhs tourists, including domestic as well as international tourists, must be there in Puri almost every year. Because of these pandemic conditions, nobody is allowed over here. But here the point is, when the foreign tourists they are coming, maybe their religion is different, their region are different. Here they are coming for the sake of nobility as well as to seek what is the spiritual experience of this place, why people are coming to this place in huge number. So for that reason, they are coming from different parts of the world to Odisha to experience that spirituality of Rath Yatra. Next, when we are talking about religious tourism, it's a very broad concept. There are different forms or types of religious tourisms are there, like where pilgrimage is one of the most important aspect, that is knowledge as well as belief. To gain knowledge and to have a belief, we are promoting pilgrimage tourism. Then we'll have missionary travel. Then people are also traveling for leisure purpose, for religious tourism aspects. Then faith-based cruising. Then crusades, conventions and rallies, then monasteries, visit and guest stay. This is very popular, particularly in Eastern India. When we are talking about the today's discussion of Eastern India, like when we are talking about monasteries, if you go to Darjeeling, you will find different Buddhist monasteries are there. And if you go to Bodh Gaya, that is in Bihar, which is famous for Buddhist place, we will find like a lot of monasteries, Buddhist monasteries are there, where people can come and stay over there. Obviously, you will have to respect for their culture as well as traditions. There are different Thai monasteries are there. Then different other countries monasteries are also there. So people are coming here from different parts of the world to have a monastery visit as well as to stay and experience the monastery stay, in particularly in Darjeeling as well as in Bodh Gaya. Then there are some faith-based camps are also been organized as a part of religious tourism aspects. Then last but not the least is, obviously there are some religious attractions are there for which tourists are coming for. Next is coming to a discussion of Eastern India is concerned. Eastern India, here in our study, for today's discussion, we have mainly discussed three states, mainly Odisha, Bengal and Bihar in our study. So we are talking about Odisha as a religious tourism destination. So the same, we are having the concept of Baro Mas Tero Parv. Like here, Odisha is a land of fairs and festivals, and most of the fairs and festivals are associated with religious belief as well as our tradition and culture. So among all these important tourist places we are having Puri, Konark. Mainly we are discussing very few, but there are so many tourist places are there which are having religious importance. If we'll go for the main religious places, we are having Puri, Konark, which is famous for, Konark is famous for Surya Mandir, and as well as it is famous for the beach-based recreational activity. We are having there Chandrabhaga beach is there, where we are having in Magha Saptami, we are having one big festival is organized over there. Then we are having Bhubaneswar, the land of temple. In Bhubaneswar also we are having Khandagiri, Udayagiri, then you are having Ananta Vasudev. So you are variety of places having variety of religious places over there. Then we are having Jajpur, where Lord Biraja is there, which is very famous. Then we are having in Western Odisha, we are in Sambalpur district, we are having Samaleshwari. In terms of Buddhist aspect, we are having Lalitgiri, Ratnagiri, and Udayagiri is there. Apart from these, there are a lot of tourist places. Huge number of tourist places are there in Odisha, having religious importance, for which tourists are coming in a huge scale. No doubt, obviously, the domestic tourists are coming in more in comparison to the foreign tourists. Next, when we are talking about the religious destinations of Bihar, Bihar is famous for particularly Buddhist tourism, the Buddhist circuit. Like in Odisha, we are having popular Golden Triangle, that is Puri, Konark, and Bhubaneswar. Similarly, in Bihar, we are having different tourist destinations, includes Nalanda, Rajgir, and Bodh Gaya. So far as the Buddhist circuits of Bihar. Apart from that, you are having Pawapuri, which is famous for Bardhaman Mahabir for Jains. We are having Patna, which is a historical place, the Pataliputra. Then we are having Vaishali, which is famous for Ashokan Pillar. And even same in case of Bihar also, there are a lot of tourist places are there having religious tourist importance. In case of the last state that we are discussing, that is West Bengal. Like in West Bengal also, we are having the concept being in working in West Bengal. There is a same concept of that is of Odisha. That is, we are here in Bengali we called it as Baro Mas Tero Porob. In Bengal also the concept is there. So we are having Calcutta, one of the most oldest city in India, as well as one of the metro city, where you will have places like Kalighat, then some Saint Cathedral Church, Tipu Sultan Mosque. Apart from that, there are several places having religious importance are also there. Among them, some of the few important tourist places includes Dakshineshwar Kali, which is lying in the opposite part of Belur Math, which is famous. Then we are having Tarapit, one of the famous Shakti Pit in West Bengal. Huge number of tourists, lakhs and lakhs of number of tourists, they visit Tarapit. Like even in a particular day, like in the month, in the day of Tuesday, or particularly in Saturday, if you go to this place, it's very hard to have a darshan of particular deity over there. Tarapit, famous Kali Shakti Pit over there. We are having Tarakeshwar, one of the among most important religious places devoted to Lord Shiva. Then we are having Balrambati Kamarpukur, famous for Ramakrishna Paramhansa, as well as Ma. Then you are having Bardhaman, which is one of the oldest city, and it's famous for Bardhamaneshwar Kali temple, as well as in Bardhaman district, it is having the unique contributions of 2108 Shiv temple, 108 Shiv Mandir in Kalna, one in Kalna, and second one is Bardhaman. Very rare architecture you will find over here. 108 Shiv Mandir in Bardhaman district, two places, one in Kalna and second one is proper Bardhaman. Next we are having Nadia and Navadip, that is famous for ISKCON. And next is, if we'll go for religious aspects, we have some monasteries, which are Buddhist monasteries, which is situated in Darjeeling. So even apart from these, there are so many places having religious importance in West Bengal also. Now, if we'll consider the religious fairs and festivals of Eastern India, without discussing this, the discussion will be what you can say somehow irrelevant. We have to, like talking about religious tourism and religious fairs and festivals, and without discussing these three things, I think we are doing injustice. So talking about the case of Odisha, if we'll discuss 10 to 15 years back, even some of the listeners, even some of the research scholars, those who are there, I can see there most of the research scholars are present over here. Even some of the students apart from Bengal and Odisha, they are here. If we'll discuss 10 to 15 years back, if somebody is telling about the place, particular place, any particular place about Odisha, maybe Cuttack, maybe Bhubaneswar, maybe any other Balasore, Bhadrak, some of the leading places of Odisha, nobody knows. If you are saying about the particular place, suddenly the answer, if you go to Delhi, if you go to Mumbai, if you go to Gujarat, if you ask any places of Odisha you are from, suddenly the answer will be coming from, oh, you are from Jagannath Puri. That means Odisha is famous. That means Odisha is famous for Lord Jagannath, which is situated in Puri. So without discussing Lord Jagannath, the discussion of Odisha, I think somehow we are not doing justice to this state, because the importance of Lord Jagannath means a lot to each and every persons of our state, of my state, from which I basically belong to, that is Odisha. And I am very fortunate to discuss this issue, because today, as Professor Sabir Hussain has rightly mentioned, we are having a very auspicious day. You go to any of the national channel, you will find that now we are having the return journey. That means today we call it as Bahuda, or the Ulta Rath. In Bengali we called it as Ulta Rath, or the deity, that means Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra, they are returning back from their Moses place to their own place. So this is a very auspicious day for us. So Rath Yatra is famous all over the world. It's not celebrating in Odisha right now. Almost every parts of India, particularly if you go for some of the states, leading states like in Bengal, if you go for Nadia and Navadip, that is ISKCON temple, even in Calcutta, even in Patna, even in Gujarat, that is in Ahmedabad, Rath Yatra is now celebrated in a very big way. Next is, we will be coming to the West Bengal aspect. If we are talking about Durga Puja in West Bengal, like this Durga Puja is considered so first time I should tell about the economical loss what we are incurring during because of this pandemic. Is the size of Durga Puja economy is nearly 1/3 of the annual budget of West Bengal. Keep it in mind. It is the economic loss or the economic contributions of Durga Puja is 1/3 of the annual budget of West Bengal, the whole state's annual budget, 1/3. So from that, you can imagine like what is the amount of loss. I'm not sure, I'm hopeful, but I doubt that this time, this year, Durga, like Rath Yatra, Durga Puja will be celebrated in a big way in Calcutta. And since I'm staying in Bengal, I can give you one region. I can give you a small example in my discussion, that there is a place called Kumartoli it's near Calcutta, where the people over there, that Kumar community, they make this deity. And there is a news recently, 10-15 last month, because of this huge rain, the Kumartoli was filled with rainwater. As a result, the preparation of deity was obstructed, and some of the deities are even washed away because of this rain, huge rain. And as a result, one of the important person who is associated with making these deities, he has committed suicide, because he could not give the deities that puja, to give that deity to a particular pandal in a particular time. So that is the reason the pressure was so high. So these are the major fairs and festivals which are attracting huge number of tourists to different parts of this Eastern India for these religious activities. Next is, if we'll go for different government initiatives are concerned, IRCTC is now promoting different circuits, particularly Buddhist circuit. If I'm confining to Eastern India, IRCTC is now promoting Buddhist circuit, particularly the Bodh Gaya, in providing transport, sightseeing, and accommodation facilities in train to what you can say, conduct different types of package tour. Now the central government has also identified 7 new circuits They are popularly known as your Sufi circuits, Buddhist circuits, Jain circuits, Christian circuits, Sikh circuits, Hindu circuits, and Sarvadharma circuits. See, from that we can discuss that it's not like religious circuits or religious tourism. We cannot confine to only Eastern India. The central government is now feeling the heat, and they are promoting these religious tourism in different parts of our India. And particularly for that reason, the role of central government, if you think of now, in the current plan period, that means 17 iconic site has been identified, where you will have to provide the basic facilities like infrastructure development, roads, hotel, lodges, connectivity and access, so that these things, these religious places can be promoted in a big way, and that can be promoted mainly for foreign tourists. That means you will have to develop them as iconic destinations in terms of providing these kind of facilities. And in Eastern India, they have identified as Bodh Gaya as one of the iconic sites. Next, if we'll go for different schemes the central government is adopting. One is known as your Bhog scheme. This is known as your blissful hygienic offering to God. There are almost we called it as almost all over world. This is a data that all over world almost 30 crore people visit in a particular single day daily across the nation, like for receiving this prasad and blessings of God. So this is not a matter of joke. So these things, this bhog what we are getting, it should be hygienic, because we are in Jagannath temple almost every day one people like Mahaprasad is prepared, that bhog is prepared is for almost 1 lakh people. So this bhog whatever you are getting, it should be hygienic, it should be serviceable, it should have proper what you can say aroma, taste, then all these ingredients used should be proper, authentic. So for that reason, this Food Safety Standards Authority of India, FSC, with relation to the central government, which is under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, now they are deputing different professionals. That means one food inspector will be there. They will be inspect the bhog or the prasad after preparation. They will give the recommendation that yes, this prasad is edible and this can be offered to the public. Then only this bhog will be served to the people. So this is a great initiative by the central government with the help of FSC to maintain these hygienic conditions. Next, another scheme which is implemented by the central government in 2015 is known as your Prasad scheme. This is mainly for pilgrim tourism. This is pilgrimage rejuvenation and spiritual augmentation drive scheme. It was introduced in 2015, and we are fortunate that both Prasad as well as Bhog scheme has been implemented in Jagannath Puri, in the Lord Jagannath temple. So the main aim is to for the beautification of these pilgrim destinations. I think those who have visited Puri 2 years back and 3 years back, they must having a very bad impression about the in and around of Lord Jagannath temple. But if you'll go, or even now in the matter of or in the time of social media, if you'll see Jagannath temple right now, there is a hell and heaven difference. That means we are like develop these tourists, all these encroachment has been wiped out. Lot of plantation program is going on. We are we are going for a huge number of beautification program, so that people, those who are, that means to develop the experiential form of religious tourism. So this is a great effort from the central government. Now talking about the major issues and consideration. See, so far as the issues and consideration are concerned, there are many, but with the paucity of time, we are confined into 4 or 5. First is known as your one holistic approach should be adopted, because without involving local community, without involving local administration, without involving state government, without involving NGOs, you cannot promote religious tourism or pilgrimage tourism, because it is involves almost all sectors of the economy are involved. So one holistic approach should be adopted so that we can promote religious tourism in Eastern India, particularly Bihar, Bengal, and Odisha. Then all segment of users should be taken care of. We should involve all party while developing any kind of planning activities for promotion and development of pilgrim tourism in Eastern India. That means we should adopt the principles of bottom-up approach. We have to involve all these local people, stakeholders, shop owners, handicraft owners, everybody, those who are involved, pandas, everybody in that decision-making process, so that things can be going in a good way. Next is infrastructural support should be provided. So developing a destination without supporting the infrastructure is fruitless. So it should be well accessed, because all these religious places like Puri or particularly Durga Puja, Chhat Jatra, where Chhat Puja, lakhs and lakhs of devotees they are coming. So you should have to develop infrastructure for them so that we can maintain the carrying capacity of the destination. So in this regard, the state government of the government of Odisha role is praiseworthy, because to a great extent they have managed the crowd controlling facilities, including sanitation and hygiene. In the last coming years, if you'll go through the details, it has maintained a very good rapport with all these stakeholders, and it can manage this infrastructural support for observing this Rath Yatra in a big way. Next is environmental and cultural values should be preserved. Obviously, when religious places are there, people from different parts of India as well as other different parts of the world, they are coming. So local people should not be carried away by their culture, the other culture. So we should conserve and preserve our environment, our culture, so that we can market our destination in a big way. Next is package should be designed combining one or more religious product. See, when particularly youngsters, they may not be very much interested for going to Jagannath temple to have a Jagannath visit now. So to provide them like the youngsters or the younger generations, so not only while we packaging this religious destination, a variety of other tourist spots should be included with different activities, so that we can market these religious destinations in a big way. Maybe we are coming to the last part. Then security aspect should be taken care of. Next is scrutiny of religious trust. This is a new form. Obviously, we should think of being the students of travel and tourism. That means nowadays some of the religious trust, they are collecting money and they are utilizing it for other purpose, which is not good. So there should be proper clarity, because they are tax free. The tax is not imposed on them, being a religious trust. So they should come up with some clarity, and they should giving the responsibility of going for some CSR activities, corporate social responsible activities, so that they can involve in some sort of social well-being of the local people, so that rural tourism can be promoted in a big way. The development of appropriate institutional framework should be simulate, like pandas should be they should be identified different communities. They should be given them a proper forum where they should speak their problem. That problem should be well solved by the government, as well as particular by the committee which is made for a particular temple or like that. Next is pricing of religious tourism products. This is very important, because religious tourism, when we are thinking of, normally it is for budget category. But sometimes the tourists are ready to pay and they want to have an enriched experience. So you will have to pricing the religious product in such a way so that it will cater to the need of all variety, all segment of tourists. Like some foreign tourists, they should have the taste of bhog, Mahaprasad, even staying in hotel also. They are ready to pay, but they should have an access to have that food. So that kind of, no doubt, they are ready to pay the money, whatever you want, but you have to provide them access to that. Next is limiting the impact of globalization on places which endemic flavor of being distinct religious tourist attraction, which we have discussed. That means since nowadays every religious places, has been accessed by these global people, global people. So you have to make your religious sentiments, make your belief, make your tradition intact. We should not flow away with the globalization. Next is improving the connectivity of specific religious tourism circuits to promote tourism, so that religious tourism can be developed. So in conclusion, I can say that Eastern region, in terms of religious tourism, it is developing every day, every month, and every year. But UNWTO's recent status, UNWTO has categorically mentioned that it is the domestic tourism, particularly religious tourism, which will develop fast after completion of this corona or COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you very much, IITTM. Thank you very much, my organization, for which I am basically from, for providing me this platform to share my views for promoting religious tourism in Eastern India during this COVID-19 case. I'll be very happy if you can share some of the questions from the audience.
It was very nice presentation. I've been listening to your entire presentation. It was well crafted and very informative. I have one question to you, Dada. Immediately, as we are in crisis of coronavirus. If you have to restart the religious tourism, what are the basic precautions need to be taken by the government, and what all the initiatives need to be taken, and what should be the best practices to be adopted for immediate start of the religious tourism in the country, according to you?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for these relevant questions. Telling you frankly, recently, within last 2 to 3 days back, I'm in Bengal now. 3 days back, Dakshineshwar Kali Temple, which is considered to be one of the famous religious place in entire West Bengal, they have opened their temple with a particular standard operating procedure, that with the help of these, since this is an place which has been taken care of by Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, tourist police have already deployed over there. So what they are doing is they are allowing 10 persons at a time to that particular temple, and they are maintaining the social distance. And with all these standard operating procedure which has been given by the temple authority, now they are allowing the tourist to enter into that particular destination, obviously with mask and all these precautions. So slowly, this is the condition, pandemic conditions we have never thought of. So for each state, the strategy will be different. Like you cannot stop people to entering Puri, particularly in Rath Yatra. But now the situation prevails where almost 44 kilometer or 24 kilometer, there is a 24 kilometer boundary is there, for which you cannot enter into that boundary now. So you have to think of about the present condition, the amount of affected areas in your region, if it is less, if it is in a green or yellow zone, depending upon the circumstances. Obviously, all the people should be taken into consideration. Temple authority, state government, then even you have to take into consideration the local people, local administration, DM, everybody. Then only you can go ahead. Otherwise, it may backfire. There is a recent news, if you can go for, now Beijing is under lockdown. Can you think of Corona starts up with Wuhan. It's a small place. Now the whole Beijing is in lockdown. So you have to be very cautious in allowing the tourist to different places. You have to be very cautious. So exact thing, it depends upon the state, it depends upon the temple administration, it depends upon the district magistrate to take care of. I was just inquiring yesterday that so far as Tarakeswar is concerned, it's a very good tourist place in lots of tourists, particularly the month Sawan is coming. Lakhs and lakhs of devotees, they are going for these Sawan to that particular place for these 4 Mondays. But now the temple administration, they have opened it for 2 days, but they could not control, and now they have shut down it. So there is a question now whether they can open it because Saban maybe within a week, the month of Saban will be coming. Now they are thinking of whether they can open it or not. So it's a very practical question. So it's up to the local administration, including the DM, temple administration. They will have to take a call whether they should open it or not.
Now it's a time for vote of thanks. Now I would like to request Dr. B. Sajan, Assistant Professor of IITM Bhubaneswar, for giving the vote of thanks. Sir, please. Dr. B. Sajan.
Very good afternoon to respected nodal officer. Very good afternoon to our expert speaker of the day, Dr. Dilip Kumar Das, and my senior faculty members and fellow faculty members, students, and the participants. First of all, let me congratulate Dr. Dilip sir for selecting a wonderful and apt topic for presentation today. Yes, definitely the religious tourism will have an impact on tourism as well as on our life also, because religion teaches us to be disciplined. So definitely, sir, your topic was very apt, very informative, well researched, and it was we are all enlightened with your presentation. On this occasion, I would like to thank the nodal officer for his relentless efforts in encouraging people to conduct various webinars through inviting various experts from the industry. Then I would like to thank Mrs. Sarita Pradhan Madam for her efforts and contribution towards conducting this event successfully. And I would like to thank Dr. Biswas sir for his trust on me to present vote of thanks. And I would like to thank all of my faculty members and the students. Definitely, sir, we are very much enlightened with your presentation, and we are looking forward to have you in the near future also. Thank you very much for your contribution towards this presentation, and God bless you, sir. Stay safe. That's it from me today. Thank you, sir.